Stop scrolling for a second. Most men think they can tell if a woman likes them, but the truth is, there are hidden signs in her behavior that reveal a lot more: how she connects, trusts, and loves. Missing these signs can cost you your time, your emotions, and even the chance at a real, lasting relationship. Today I'm going to show you 7 signs that reveal how many men a woman has been with. Some signs are tiny and easy to miss, but they tell a story most men never notice. Here's the thing: the 4th sign will shock you, and the 7th sign will make you rethink everything about dating and relationships. If you pay attention until the end, you'll see patterns that can save you from wasting your time or getting hurt. So stick around, because every gesture, every word, and every action can tell you the truth about her past, and knowing this could completely change the way you approach dating. Now that you know why noticing hidden signs is so important, let's start with sign 1: unusual comfort with physical closeness. The first sign is one many men completely miss. Some women seem extremely comfortable with physical closeness from the very first moment you meet them. They might sit close on a couch, touch your arm casually, or lean in while talking, things that usually take time to feel natural. At first, it looks like confidence, but in reality, it can be a hidden sign of a high number of past partners. Here's why. True intimacy usually grows slowly. Most people feel a little nervous or shy when starting a new romantic connection. That nervous energy, that spark of anticipation, is natural. It makes physical closeness feel special. But when a woman skips those steps and seems immediately relaxed, it might mean she's been in these situations many times before. So intimacy feels routine rather than exciting. For example, imagine you're on a first or second date. She leans in very close, laughs while touching you casually, or starts talking about intimate topics naturally, as if you've known each other for months. She might even describe past experiences in a very casual, almost rehearsed way, with no warmth, embarrassment, or emotional spark. The key is observation. Confidence is normal, but when it comes with no sense of modesty or excitement, it can indicate a history of repeated intimacy. True trust and emotional connection usually take time. If she seems to skip that, it's a more subtle warning about how she relates to physical closeness. In short, watch how she touches, how she talks, and how natural it all feels. Those little details tell you more than any words ever could. Sign 2: emotional walls always up. The second sign is emotional walls. Some women can be physically close, even affectionate, but emotionally distant at the same time. At first, it's easy to miss because they laugh, smile, and seem warm. But if you pay attention, you'll notice there's an invisible barrier you can't cross. Why does this happen? Emotional walls usually form after repeated experiences where a woman learned not to get too attached. If she has had many partners, she may have trained herself to protect her emotions. This doesn't mean she's cold or unkind, it just means she's careful not to invest too much, so she doesn't get hurt again. For example, imagine you share something personal, like a fear, a regret, or a dream. Instead of opening up in return, she might respond politely but superficially. You feel heard, but not truly understood. She might laugh it off, change the subject, or give a neutral comment. That's a classic sign of an emotional wall. Another example, during a disagreement or conflict, instead of working through it together, she might avoid the issue entirely. She could use humor to deflect, end the conversation abruptly, or withdraw emotionally. She's not trying to hurt you. She's protecting herself from vulnerability. The tricky part is that emotional walls are often subtle. She may still act loving, attentive, or fun, but when it comes to moments that require real connection, sharing fears, solving problems, or building trust, you notice a gap. She doesn't fully engage emotionally, leaving you to carry most of the emotional effort. This matters because an emotional depth is the foundation of any strong relationship. If she can't open up, the relationship may stay shallow, no matter how exciting it feels at first. Recognizing this early can save you from investing your time and energy in someone who isn't ready for a real connection. Quick tip to spot it. Pay attention to how she responds when you share your feelings. Does she reflect back with the same honesty, or does she keep things light and surface level? The second one is a warning sign of emotional walls. Sign 3. Disproportionate male social circle. The third sign is something most men completely overlook. A woman having an unusually large number of male friends. At first glance, it may seem normal. Maybe she's just social or enjoys hanging out with guys. But if you look closer, this pattern can reveal a lot about her past and how she relates to men. Why does this matter? Women who have had many partners often keep multiple male friendships that go beyond casual acquaintance. Some of these men may have been romantically involved in the past, or they may show interest in her. The pattern isn't about being friendly. It's about maintaining connections that give constant male attention and validation. For example, imagine she's in a relationship with you, but her phone frequently lights up with messages from other men. When you ask, she says, "Oh, they're just friends." But the tone, frequency, and history of these interactions might suggest otherwise. This isn't always conscious. Sometimes it's just a habit built over time. She's used to feeling secure when multiple men are interested in her. Another point, these connections can act as a backup emotional safety net. If her current relationship falters, she has other sources of attention to fall back on. That can make it harder for a partner to feel like a priority because she's dividing emotional energy across several men. Even deeper, this circle often shows she struggles to form deep female friendships. Emotional intimacy with women requires reciprocity and vulnerability, which she might find harder after multiple romantic experiences. With men, she can maintain attention without giving as much emotionally in return. A practical example, even in a committed relationship, she might keep regular conversations with male friends, resist setting boundaries, and stay connected with past partners. This can create a subtle instability, where the partner never feels fully secure or prioritized. Key takeaway. A large, disproportionate male social circle isn't always a red flag, but combined with other signs, it can reveal patterns of seeking validation, avoiding full emotional investment, and making emotional connections less secure. Observing how she manages her male friendships gives you important insight into her relationship style and priorities. Sign 4. Closeness as currency. The fourth sign is one of the 5 most important and dangerous. Some women over time may learn to use physical closeness as a tool, not as a genuine expression of affection, but as a way to get something in return. This is what we call closeness as currency. And if you don't notice it, it can completely change the way you see a relationship. Here's how it works. She might get physically close, affectionate, or intimate. Not just because she feels it, but because she knows it can influence your behavior. It could be to get a favor, avoid an argument, or steer a situation in her favor. Over time, this pattern can make the relationship feel strategic and transactional rather than natural and loving. For example, imagine she's asking for something big, like a trip, a gift, or a favor. The night before, she's extremely affectionate, attentive, and loving. Suddenly, her warmth feels timed, almost like it's meant to achieve a goal. On the flip side, she could withhold affection as a silent punishment, making it clear that she'll only give it when you do what she wants. This behavior erodes trust, and over time, even moments that feel genuine start to feel calculated. A man begins to wonder, does she really care, or is this just a strategy? This is especially dangerous because it plays on instincts most men have to protect, provide, and respond to affection without receiving the same emotional investment in return. Another example, she might give compliments, touch you casually, or act extremely close when she wants something, then go back to being distant once her goal is achieved. It's a subtle pattern, but repeated over time, it turns love and intimacy into a transaction. Key takeaway. Affection and closeness should feel natural and reciprocal. If you notice a pattern where intimacy always aligns with requests, favors, or conflict resolution, it's a major red flag. This isn't about judging her, it's about protecting yourself and recognizing when love starts becoming conditional. Sign 5. Surgical reading of the male mind. The fifth sign is subtle but very powerful. A woman who seems to understand and manipulate male emotions with surgical precision. At first, it can feel amazing, like she gets you better than anyone else. But behind that skill is often a pattern developed over multiple past relationships. Here's the truth. Some women, through experience, learn exactly how to trigger certain reactions in men. They know when to give a compliment to boost your ego, when to show vulnerability to awaken your protective instincts, or when to pull back to make you feel insecure. Every gesture, every word can be carefully timed to influence your behavior. For example, imagine she notices you feel insecure about your appearance. She might give precise compliments when she wants a favor or wants you to agree to something. Or she could act distant when she wants attention or compliance. At first, it feels like connection, but really, it's emotional strategy, not genuine vulnerability. This skill can make a man feel like he's found the perfect partner, someone who truly understands him. But the danger is that the pattern often repeats with other men. It's not about deep connection. It's about maintaining interest, influence, and control without giving the same emotional depth in return. Another example, she might sense when you need reassurance and use it to her advantage, or carefully time affection to get a reaction. Over time, this can create emotional dependence, where you start reacting to her cues rather than feeling mutual love and trust. Key takeaway: understanding a man's mind is not inherently bad, but when it's used strategically to influence, control, or manipulate, it's a red flag. If you notice patterns of calculated emotional moves, take note. This is more about strategy than real connection. Sign 6. Total lack of shame about the past. The sixth sign is something many men underestimate. A woman who shows no shame or reservation when talking about her romantic past. At first, it might seem like honesty or confidence. She may talk openly about past relationships, past partners, or even suggest that having many partners was a positive experience. But this behavior can reveal how she views emotional commitment. Why does this matter? When someone normalizes past intimacy, it can reduce the emotional weight that normally makes a relationship special. If she treats her past casually, it may signal that exclusivity and long-term commitment aren't her priorities. For example, imagine you're on a date and she casually talks about past lovers or flings, laughing or treating them as light stories. She might say things like, "It was fun," or "It was just a learning experience," without any reflection on emotional growth. To a man seeking stability and exclusivity, this can be a warning sign. Another example, if you ask questions about her past relationships, she might respond defensively, accuse you of being insecure, or dismiss your curiosity. Instead of opening a conversation about values, she shuts down meaningful discussion. This prevents mature conversations about compatibility, commitment, and expectations. The key point is this: lack of shame isn't inherently bad. But when combined with the other signs, emotional walls, closeness as currency, or repeated patterns, it can indicate that emotional intimacy and long-term attachment aren't fully developed. Quick tip to spot it. Notice how she talks about her past. Does it carry emotional depth and reflection, or is it casual and light, almost like a story with no weight? The second one is a subtle red flag for men looking for serious relationships. Sign 7. Short and repetitive relationship history. The seventh and final sign is one of the most revealing. A woman with many past partners often has a history of short, intense relationships that follow a predictable pattern: high excitement at the beginning, quickly fading emotional connection, and then a breakup. This cycle repeats over time, leaving little room for long-term growth or stability. Why does this matter? When a relationship starts intensely but never deepens emotionally, it creates a pattern where intimacy is shallow and temporary. Over time, she may unconsciously repeat this pattern because it feels familiar. Novelty and excitement become more important than building a lasting bond. For example, imagine you start dating her. The first few weeks feel amazing, lots of attention, passion, and closeness. But after a few months, she suddenly becomes distant, emotionally detached, or withdraws from conflict resolution. Soon after, the relationship ends, and before you know it, she's with someone new. This isn't always deliberate. Often, it's a learned pattern from past experiences. Relationships didn't last, so emotional walls, closeness as currency, and reliance on male attention became habits. The result? She struggles to maintain long-term commitment. Another example, her relationships may overlap slightly, starting something new before fully ending the previous one. There's rarely time for reflection, emotional growth, or deep connection. This keeps intimacy in a constant cycle of excitement without real depth. Key takeaway: a short, repetitive relationship history ties all the other signs together. Closeness as currency, emotional walls, surgical reading of men's minds, lack of shame about the past, and a disproportionate male social circle all feed into this cycle. Recognizing this pattern gives a man clarity about whether a woman can provide true emotional depth and long-term commitment. Now that you know all 7 hidden signs, the choice is in your hands. Every gesture, every word, and every action can tell you the truth about a woman's past and how she really connects emotionally. This isn't about judging her, it's about protecting yourself and your relationship goals. Ask yourself, how many of these signs have you seen and ignored? How many times have you let physical attraction lead you, only to realize later that the relationship had no real depth? Now is the time to open your eyes and notice the patterns. Remember, true high-value men don't settle. They notice behaviors, understand patterns, and make decisions that protect their time, heart, and emotional energy. If this video helped you, like, comment, and share it. Leave a comment saying, "I saw this," to show that you won't ignore these signs anymore. And don't forget to unsubscribe and turn on notifications so you can keep learning about male psychology and building real, meaningful relationships. Stay aware, stay smart, and never settle for less than you deserve.